Here's a shocking fact, an amazing secret of real entrepreneurship. World-class entrepreneurs are not proactive. In fact, I can tell you that the advice to be proactive is point blank bad advice. And in this video, I'm going to show you the trait that world-class entrepreneurs have instead of proactiveness. I'm going to show you how to do it, give you the keys, so stick around. At this point, you might be a little confused because I'm sure you've heard that taking action is important. In fact, it's extremely important, and that as an entrepreneur, you should be proactive and get in there. And now I want to kind of tip the secret. So when I model world-class entrepreneurs, I'm always looking for really fine distinctions, these things that make all the difference. And I first, just as a quick note here, when I was first called in to model, world-class salespeople for Blue Green, investment bankers that were the top performing for George K. Baum, what were they doing that was different? One of the most powerful insights to know about is there are two kinds of actions to differentiate yourself. One is you do different actions than your competitors, but the other one is you do the same actions, but you do them differently. So when you get to action, is it enough to be proactive? And if not, what is it that the best entrepreneurs in the world are doing? Well, here's what it is. It's not enough to be proactive, and that's why it's bad advice. World-class entrepreneurs to a person are proactive to the extreme. I emphasize it this way because these are totally different things. And if you are proactive for your entire business life, you can still fail miserably. That's why I call it bad advice, because it's just simply not enough. Proactivity is great, but look at any top entrepreneur you admire, somebody who's one of the best performing. You could pick the famous ones on the left and the right. I don't distinguish when it comes to modeling excellence. So, pick Warren Buffett, at 90 something, he's still in there every day. Incredible, right? Bill Gates is still extremely proactive. Look at Elon Musk and, Donald Trump. They're famous for this. So proactive to the extreme is an entirely different thing. And it's much more like the real trait of stamina, or what I call business and entrepreneurial stamina, which is this trait of being in there and in there and in there on a particular initiative so that you move the needle forward. So how do you cultivate this extreme proactiveness? Well, in the next few short clips here, I'm going to give you the lowdown. I'm just going to show you the top 3 or 4 ways that I've used for years to help entrepreneurs make this shift. The good news is you don't have to jump into, working night and day and not having a life. I'm going to show you how to do it with life balance, without burning out, and literally be able to move your top initiatives forward like never before. And that's why I make a big dramatic thing out of it's not enough to be proactive. Toss that aside. It's even, like I said, taught at major universities in the entrepreneurship programs. When they list the traits, I have the books. Be proactive. No, be proactive to the extreme. And now the question is, how do you do it? So if you want to take your proactivity to the extreme, whatever phrase or name you call it, super productivity, whatever, the very first and most important thing that is a requirement is you must have clarity. You must know what's most important. Think about it. If you're going to go all in, you're going to take lots and lots of focused action. You want to make sure that you're not taking focused action, because now this is ramping it up. You want to make sure you're not taking that focused action in the wrong direction, or in a direction that wouldn't really lead you to your top most important strategic success. So, a couple of points here. I made another video. Please check it out on, I think it was called Your Top 3, but it's all about how to gain that clarity on what's most important. I'm sure you've heard of the 80-20 principle, But this is really taking it to the next level. You must know your top initiatives, and you must know why they're so important, and they have to align with your strategic vision. So remember, one of the most important strategic principles is that you want to get to a position, right, with your initiatives, that in that position, it gives you access to, and you can succeed at multiple other things. So in the military analogy, this is sometimes an actual physical location on the map, right? But in the business world, this can be a certain position in your market. In other words, you want to get to a position where being there gives you success and allows you to access multiple successes at other things. It gives you the most leverage. So this is a little beyond the scope of this video, but when you're looking at your top initiatives, remember to think strategically. So number one, before you do any motivation, before you use any of these following techniques I'm about to describe, make sure you know exactly what's most important in terms of initiatives that you need to move forward as the owner, as the top decision maker in the company, or a senior executive, and understand why. When these succeed, they move you forward in terms of your master strategy. Remember, strategy is not an action or a tactic. The definition of strategy is really more accurately described as the overarching approach to winning the big objective or winning the war. But the war can just mean a certain kind of entrepreneurial success and even lifestyle. Remember, clarity is number one. Take out a piece of paper. Don't just let this pass. Make a note. Look for that other video. Make sure you know exactly what's most important. Handful of initiatives before you apply these following steps, because otherwise you could wind up ramping up your motivation, your action, and your productivity, but going in the wrong direction. I've literally had the problem, I taught NLP for 20 years, 6-month-long trainings. And one of the things we teach is motivation strategies, cognitive syntaxes for motivation that trigger action. We call them a compelling future. So when you represent something and it causes you to take action, that means the future you represented was compelling. I literally had the problem when I would teach entrepreneurs and business owners this. They'd sometimes motivate themselves. They had this master motivation pattern. They could get themselves to do almost anything. They would motivate themselves to do some really stupid things. I have to say, I'm not laughing at them, but it is kind of funny. And I had to back up and teach them what I'm alluding to here, a decision-making strategy, in this case, being crystal clear on your most important initiatives. So please take that story to heart and pause or do whatever you need to do, because now these superpower techniques for basically aligning action with those intentions and making it easy and automatic and almost get a momentum on its own are coming up. First big secret of quantum leaping your personal productivity and your level of proactivity to put yourself on another level as an entrepreneur. It's called ecology. So what is ecology? Well, think of it this way, and it's huge. Doesn't it make you a little uncomfortable, the idea of working a lot more and being in there? Like, here's the action step. Write down every concern you have about it. Because ecology means this. It means if you make a change in one area of your life, in this case, ramping up your level of action in your business, it's going to have consequences on a lot of other parts of your life. In other words, it could throw other aspects of your life out of balance. What if you burn out? What if you don't have time for the people you love and care about, your spouse or your dog? Or what about the hobby or one or two things you love to do? You're going to have time for that? What about your health? You're going to have time to work out? If you don't have these concerns, I'm worried about you. Okay? These are all legitimate concerns. Ecology is about, and it's been an integral part of my coaching for years. In fact, I can tell you, when you work with a coach that uses ecology, it's actually hard to work with any coach that doesn't use it because it makes such a difference. We're taking into account what will happen to other areas of your life before we make a significant change or install a resource or change a belief. All my work has ecology in it. Think of it as more holistic change work or transformation. So after clarity, number one is ecology. I recommend you write down all the concerns you have. And here's the most important tip I can give you on ecology. After you write them down, or as you write them down, be honest. You don't have to show them to anybody else. Make sure you validate deep down the deep concern inside you somewhere. Literally say, that's a legitimate concern. It's okay to be concerned about that. A lot of times we wrestle with it. Oh, I shouldn't be able to do it. Acknowledge these deep concerns. They're all legitimate. It's legitimate that some part of you is worried about burning out. Maybe you tried to be more proactive before and it tired you out. Maybe you're worried about spending enough time with your spouse if you're married or something like that, or missing out on something you feel is important. So step two, in a sense, after clarity, the second step is write down your concerns. If you worked over the top, and let's assume you enjoy the work, that's another one. What if you're just miserable doing it? Write it down, and then I'm going to show you what to do with that in a little bit. But essentially, here's what you want to do after you've written all those things down. One by one, go through and solve those issues. This is how you do ecology. I'll have a separate video just on how to do this in terms of ecology, and I'll probably put ecology in the title so you can find it. The point is, you need to resolve every one of those. First, consider them legitimate. Second, go in and say, okay, I'll give you an example. I wouldn't have time for my exercise. So, okay, you make an agreement and you build in regular exercise. Make a commitment to 3 times a week. And you make an agreement with yourself. If you step up into super proactivity, right, it's required that you work out 3 times a week. You step out and work out, and that's part of it. Now you solve the problem. Check in with that part of you. Would this solve it? And if it feels right, you're good. Check it off and keep that agreement. If it won't solve it, keep iterating through. Keep working on it until you get a solution. Solve it in the way you solve problems. Go to ChatGPT and start asking questions. Ask friends, meditate on it, ruminate on it, and so on. Come up with a solution to the most important concerns, because otherwise you're incongruent. You want to be proactive, but it actually puts you into a painful place to be extremely proactive. So how can you do it, right? That's called an ecology issue. And ecology is a massive problem in our culture. The biggest culprit I know of is modern medicine that leaves a trail of iatrogenics. And I love that word. Iatrogenics I had to look it up. It means that the cure is worse than the original problem. The surgeon leaves something in the body, and then the person has 4 or 5 problems they never had when they went in. And medicine, I respect doctors very much. I'm not saying any criticisms about them. But the epistemology of modern medicine is a nightmare of iatrogenics. They're not even informing us of the massive side effects. So that's an example. It's unecological. If you go in for one thing and you come out with 5 problems you didn't have, I'd say the solution was not ecological. So as you can probably tell, I'm not okay with that. And so I'm very big on ecology. The other one is, in coaching hundreds of entrepreneurs, I can tell you from experience, when you get congruent, it's like a superpower. And I just gave you the way to do it, at least the light version, before we dive into a separate video on it. And I will make one, so please look for it. Remember, just to recap, you want to list all your concerns, consider them valid. Don't object to them. Don't wrestle with them. Say, thank you for being concerned about that. That's an important concern, that you're concerned about my health and exercise. You're concerned about my relationships. I won't have time for it. Thank you. It's legitimate. This is a different way to, kind of handle objections from yourself. Once you've validated them, it's so much easier to go in, okay, let me address that concern and keep addressing it. It's almost like if you were good at sales, it would be like addressing an objection or concern. You don't want to just slap over it. You want to really handle it and make sure that it's not a problem. Do the same thing with yourself. So that's number 2, ecology. A third secret to quantum leaping your own personal level of productivity, and I'm calling super proactivity or proactivity to the extreme, after clarity, and then ecology and congruence. The third big secret that I've used that just has put entrepreneurs over the top, I can best describe as a combination of flow and momentum. I'll be making multiple videos on this to show you how to do this in all kinds of creative ways. The idea is this. I'm sure you're familiar with the principle of displacement. When we want to change a habit, we never just take out the old habit. We don't want to wrestle with what we don't want to do. What we do is use displacement. You put a new, more productive habit in its place, and it kind of displaces the old habit. So we're using this principle of don't wrestle with, procrastination and this and that. Enter in consistently and regularly into a state of flow and momentum. I first started doing this years ago with Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's 6-step process of flow. It's in his book, Flow. Highly recommend it. I then started to amp it up with NLP and do all kinds of creative things with it. And then it turns into a kind of a momentum. So it's not just flow. But as an example, one of my testimonials you see is a fellow who was an entrepreneur, solopreneur. He was 17,000 in the red within a very short amount of time. He was doing over $1 million in his own business, and he never got another customer, meaning just with one client, he had become that much more valuable. One of the things I did to help him and several other business owners to just get extraordinary quantum leap results was help them get into their own flow and momentum, kind of the zone, and then not only get into it every day, but when you come out of it, to re-access it so that you spend longer time in it, and then shift it to one thing and another and another. Your creativity comes out, your strengths come out. I can't say enough good things about the zone, flow, momentum. The big risk here is to dismiss it. In other words, you've heard about the zone. Oh, yeah, the zone, the zone. Please don't make that mistake. This is a game changer. Remember, all your performance depends on the state you're in and not your gifts and your talents, because the state gives you access to your gifts and your talents. So state management is one of the greatest things you can do as an entrepreneur, and your own flow and zone state just puts you on a whole other level. You can actually start enjoying what you're doing, linking pleasure to it. When you're in that zone, things that were difficult before become almost effortless, or completely effortless, not almost. And it's astonishing. So you really have to experience it. But the idea is take your zone, your momentum and flow to a new level. Know how exactly you access that state. Do you know the syntax? 1, 2, 3, bam, the light comes on. I'm in flow. I'm in the zone. Do you know how to stay in it? Do you have a formula for staying in it longer? Do you have a way to Pomodoro it, meaning step out of whatever the activity is, but don't change state so much that you lose your momentum? Pomodoro is kind of the name for, you go back in, and then you do another hour or an hour and a half, and bam, another productivity. Then you take a break, you go back in again. Pretty soon you do 3-4 sets, and you can move something forward in an astonishing way. And it doesn't even feel like work. This is the beauty of it. You know that world-class entrepreneurs are in the zone. How could you say Warren Buffett's not in a zone, whatever we call it? What about Musk? I mean, some of the phenomenal entrepreneurs I've mentioned, just on performance level. So this third secret is about getting your own formula, doing it, nailing it, staying in it longer, and then eventually really exiting it to go into another default state that is really groovy. Sorry, I lapsed into boomer talk there, but that's really cool. Not your normal low resource kind of default state, but a little bit up that's maybe kind of cruising along. So this is a little beyond the scope of this video to do it in detail, but I want to give you this secret. Look for my videos. I'll be making several on just how you do this kind of state and other advanced state management skills for entrepreneurs. But this is secret 3, and it's really important. And by the way, if you would like to learn advanced techniques of state management like flow and momentum, resilience, tenacity, some of these amazing states, linking pleasure to what you do so that you literally enjoy doing things you didn't enjoy before, skill mastery. My company's called Skill Builders. I'm very big on that. And also the mindset, advanced mindset, some of these things I'm alluding to, clarity that's over the top. Just go to alexandervanburen.com/apply and you can get more details. Okay, here's a special bonus tip for quantum leaping your level of productivity so that you still maintain a great lifestyle, you're enjoying what you do, and you're just getting a whole lot more done. I mentioned that there were parts of you, that's just a way of talking, parts of you that had concerns. Well, each one of those concerns, you have deep needs, and those needs have got to be fulfilled. And this bonus tip is simply to look at the top needs that you have, the deep down drives. It may be for, importance or feeling masterful, or it might be recognition. Be honest about what they are. Just write them down, the top ones, and notice how you currently get them fulfilled in ways that are not productive. Maybe you need to rest or get renewal or peace. And so you spend hours on social media or watching television or watching the news. And, none of that is moving your entrepreneurial venture forward. If you're honest, just be gentle with yourself. Just look at it all as processes. You have deep needs. They're being fulfilled in unproductive ways. They're being fulfilled, but not in ways that are moving your business forward. So the idea is map them across. So how do you do that? In other words, shut off and don't allow yourself in a bold sweep to let any of those needs any longer be fulfilled except through healthy channels, your business, your health and exercise, maybe your relationships. And I personally have spiritual, on the list. Just a handful of things. You just absolutely shut off any fulfillment of those deep needs, and you insist that they be fulfilled in these other ways and only in these other channels. And what it does is it will cause your subconscious mind and those parts of you, I should say, to find ways to meet their needs in productive ways. So what you have to do is refuse and cut off their fulfillment in unproductive ways. In a bold sweep, stop and just refuse to let them be fulfilled that way and insist that they only be fulfilled in productive ways. And I recommend that you have not just work, because that could throw your life out of balance. Insist and make it a default, like A or B. It's a digital choice. Let's say the need for importance, you're getting fulfilled in some unproductive way. You now insist that it be fulfilled through your business. So find a way. Tell your subconscious to find a way and give it. You can be fulfilled through the business, through exercise and health and diet, right? And you name these areas. Please include something for the peace and well-being of your spirit, of your soul. I know that's a funny way to say it. I don't know how to express it. Being a longtime meditator and practitioner of mindfulness and such, you can work and work and work, but it's the process that's where the fulfillment comes in. So please be sure to include something about the process. It's just my personal recommendation about loving what you do, about making a contribution. It's so fulfilling. Make sure you're getting that need fulfilled over there because it's productive. So I'll let you choose what those things are. I'm kind of holding up my hand, maybe no more than 5. And there are these productive areas. The secret, again, is to identify those deep needs that are now being fulfilled. They have to be fulfilled, but they're being fulfilled in unproductive ways. And don't criticize yourself. Be gentle with yourself. The needs are the needs. Consider it like an aha. Okay. And then literally decide, and it's a bold sweep. They're no longer going to be fulfilled in these unproductive ways. You insist that they're only going to be fulfilled in more productive ways, even if you don't know how. Just cut off the other ways and just expect your subconscious mind to find them being fulfilled over here. it'll happen. There you go. There's your bonus tip. Thanks for watching. Hey, I want to inspire you and encourage you to grab some of the resources. I'm going to drop some links down below. The first is the new scaling mindset. It's the 5 mindset shifts that act as super catalysts for growing and scaling your business. I also have a program called the Workflow Optimizer. I've literally taken scaling a business and broken it down into some of the singular skills, and I put them into little micro courses so you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to sign up for a big high-ticket coaching program. You don't have to build an operating system. All you have to do is build these skills a little bit one at a time. They have a money-back guarantee, 30 days. If you don't get results, let us know. We'll give you your money back. The first one is all about optimizing the workflows in your business, and the other one is even more amazing. I take the mindset shifts to the next level, and then I added the actual fundamental skill for scaling of being able to identify the finest opportunities for scalable growth that exists on the playing field on the board right now for you and your company. Think about having these 2 skills. So, it's unique. I think growing and scaling can be really overwhelming. And what I've done is break it down into bite-sized chunks. You can focus on it. You could probably do this first micro course in a week, the second one maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and you have 2 of the most important core skills for scaling a business. And it's just that simple. So check out the links below and enjoy.